They nervous, they never stay small. And the populace don't like them at all. It don't matter, they hip, they got their own friendship. But when love is in the air, it can cause quite a scare. And sometimes it's hard to define what goes down on Valentine.
This video is brought to you by Patreon. Patreon. We eat what we like.
Roses are red. Violets are purple, actually, not blue. Nickelodeon wishes a happy Valentine's Day to you. Violets are definitely not blue.
Today on Knacks, we go further forward than we've ever gone. All the way to 1999. 1999 was a year of anticipation. The new millennium was right around the corner, a presidential election was winding up, athletes were training for the Sydney Summer Olympics. But unbeknownst to the people making them, animated shorts for television was a winding down market. The 90s was a golden era of animation anthologies and compilations, from Liquid Television and Cartoon Sushi on MTV, to What a Cartoon on Cartoon Network, and on Nickelodeon, Oh Yeah Cartoons and KaBlam. They didn't all have the same priorities, but they basically served the same function, bringing creator-driven alternative animation to mainstream cable television. Sure, it could be a grab bag of quality, but in a pre-YouTube era, shows like this were where smaller, younger creators could get their work seen. Shows like this could lead to bigger jobs in the industry, and who knows, a short might catch enough attention to evolve into a full show of its own. Dexter's Laboratory, Aeon Flux, Chalk Zone, Powerpuff Girls, Beavis and Butthead, My Life as a Teenage Robot, Johnny Bravo, Celebrity Deathmatch, The Fairly Odd Parents, and so much more originated as shorts for these shows. But today, we're not looking at what was, but what might have been. From a little show called KaBlam. KaBlam will, of course, get a full episode of Knacks eventually, you know, if global warming doesn't kill us first. But for now, we're going to focus on just one of KaBlam's many reoccurring shorts, the Offbeats.
It's nothing short of a masterpiece. Just like our next cartoon. Here's the Offbeats. Hey, September. Want to take a ride in my helicart?
No thanks.
Oh, okay. See you later. Bye.
The Offbeats was a creation of Mo Willem, a graduate of New York University's Tisch School of the Arts. This being the late 80s, early 90s, animation at the time was largely that of cheap Saturday morning cartoon affairs, mainly to sell toys. At NYU, Willems was introduced to a swath of alternatives. The best thing that NYU did for me was to give me a sense of animation history. They exposed me to all sorts of stuff, Zagreb films, Ubu Ra. I first saw Gerald McBoing there, the Hubleys films, Oscar Fischinger, etc. I discovered animation as an art form where abstract artists influence people who are making cartoons at UPA. And there certainly is a strong UPA edge to Willem's work. UPA, the United Productions of America, was an animation studio born in the 1940s as an answer to what had become the traditional animation of Disney and Warner Brothers. Their style was defined by flat layouts, minimalist backgrounds, and simple but dynamic character designs. All of which you can see in Willem's student film, The Man Who Yelled.
I was in this coffee shop and this man walked in and yelled, "Ah!" and left. The next day, I went to the bank and the man walked in again and yelled, "Ah!" and left.
I find the fact that I can't draw very well attracts me to a minimalist style. While I enjoy all forms of drawing, a single line, simply done, is more beautiful than 100 little lines sort of approximating the right thing. I like my characters to be two-dimensional. Just because you can do something in 3D doesn't make it better. I want my line to be focused, so the emotions of a character are clear. Willems also took a lot of inspiration from the printed cartoon, citing New Yorker cartoonists like Ronald Searle and especially Saul Steinberg as major inspirations, as well as a childhood fascination with Charles Schulz's Peanuts.
I started out with a love of Peanuts, and I drew Charlie Browns and I drew Snoopy's, and then as I got older I started drawing my own characters. But I even wrote a letter to Charles Schulz when I was a young man saying that I wanted his job when he died. Peanuts was really a transformative comic strip for me because it was the only comic strip where the main character is unhappy. And there's something very realistic about that. And I don't think childhood is necessarily a very happy time because there's a lot of learning, a lot of stresses and whatnot. And so it was realistic, but it was very funny, and the drawings were just beautiful and simple. So
another short Mo Willem did was Itty Bitty Beat Boy, about a young child becoming popular in the beat poets scene, only to be rejected by society at large.
Man, I tell you, the crowd sure did dig when Itty Bitty Beat Boy said, "Iggo, wiggo, peg." All the cats said it was just too much, because this little fella was so in touch.
It's also worth pointing out that Willems had made an attempt at a career as a stand-up comic, which taught him a lot about comedy.
And I think the good thing is it allowed me to learn what an audience expects. It gave me a sense of timing, and it also got all the bad jokes out of me. You know, I wrote a lot of stuff and performed it and saw that it didn't work, and that was very helpful, particularly starting out as a writer.
With a couple of films under his belt and having learned the ins and outs of comedic timing, Willems began working odd jobs until he caught the attention of the Children's Television Workshop and the people behind Sesame Street. I had been working at CTW drawing smiley faces for the research department. They would ask kids, "How did you feel about this show you just saw?" And the kids would point to different characters with different emotions. So I was doing this for a couple of bucks an hour down in some hallway and hawking my flyers for a comedy show I did. Of course, nobody ever came to the shows, but they knew I was doing comedy, and somebody invited me to audition as a writer for Sesame Street. I handed in some sketches I'd written, and about 8 months later they said, "Okay, we're going to let you become a Sesame Street auditioner," a process that took another half year or so. At the same time, Arlene Sherman saw my films. I had given them to CTW some 2 years before, and they had finally reached her desk. She said, "Oh, you're auditioning and you're the guy who made Itty Bitty Beat Boy? Let's talk."
And one of the great things about having done stand-up was, at Sesame Street they didn't want somebody who wrote for children. They wanted someone who was funny. They figured they could teach you how to write for children, they couldn't teach you how to be funny. So they asked me to hand in 2 adult sketches, and I had them. I mean, they were in my filing cabinet, and they were the 2 funniest things that I had written. So it was much easier to become a writer. And it was really, once I was accepted, which took about a year, it was like going to school. It was a great, great thing. You were with these older writers who had a lot of experience. And at the same time, I was able to make animated films. And every year, I was basically given a certain number of films to do that they really wanted, and I could take one film and experiment. I could do a different format, a different type of movie, and they were very open to that. So it was a great, great way to be a young man.
So Willems began writing and animating for Sesame Street from 1993 to 2002, work that would result in 6 Daytime Emmy Awards. On top of writing for characters like Elmo and Baby Bear, Willems' main contribution to the show was the Susie Kabloozy shorts, about a little girl and her cat using their imagination in creative ways.
So Susie's dad opened the book and started to read, and then something strange happened. Quite strange indeed. The words he read took her into a wonderful story, and Susie became a pirate on a ship headed for glory. That book told about how pirates sail the 7 seas, looking for a treasure and doing whatever they pleased. How they knew all about every star in the sky and played around with cool fish that fly.
In many ways, Sesame Street is a lot like those compilation shows I mentioned at the beginning, a home for alternative animated shorts where creators could develop their ideas and get them out in the world, just, aimed at a toddler demographic. It was during his time at Sesame Street that Mo Willem started working on a few short films for Nickelodeon. It's not hard to argue that Nickelodeon was built off animated shorts, with shows like Pinwheel, By the Way, and Hocus Focus providing platforms for imported animation. And while those type of shows went out of style really quickly for the channel, Nickelodeon continued to air shorts between programs well into the 90s. And it was in these animated rotations that Mo Willems found a home for his next project, The Offbeats.
dog can talk.
Really?
Yeah.
Cool. All right, let's hear your dog talk.
Check it out. Talk, boy. Come on, September, talk. September, I order you to talk.
Bow.
Your dog said bow. Any dog could say that.
No, you misunderstood. I want you to bow to me. Thank you.
The original pitch was called The Misfits, but at the last minute, Nickelodeon requested the name be changed to The Offbeats, which worked pretty well, as the shorts were given a beat poetry flavor, including an open narration from an old beatnik named Grubby Groo. The shorts involved the day-to-day lives of a group of friends called the Offbeats and their constant conflict with the Populars. While these popular kids walked around in a pack and lived to their own conformity, the Offbeats were distinct individuals. There was Betty Ann Bongo, a bongo-playing hipster girl, Tommy, a plaid-wearing, usually quiet boy known for out-of-nowhere explosive shouting, Rapunzel, a long-haired lover of nature, August, a nerdy inventor, and his talking dog September, voiced by Mo Willem himself.
The Populars.
Your shoe's untied.
Impossible. I used my XB shoe tire this morning. Each knot's guaranteed for 8 hours.
I don't wear shoes. I'm a dog.
The Offbeats was a culmination of all the work and influence Mo Willems had gathered up to that point. The animation styles of UPA, the angular character designs of Steinberg, the comedic timing of stand-up, the beatnik aesthetics of Itty Bitty Beat Boy, the empathy of Sesame Street, and, of course, the melancholic childhood of Peanuts. The Offbeats feels like the thesis statement to everything Willems had learned, and the reception to it was pretty positive, the shorts even winning a Cable Ace Award. After 3 of these shorts, it was decided to move the Offbeats to a more permanent home on the animated anthology show, KaBlam.
My name is Betty and Bongo. I sing this little song, go. I sing it all day long, go.
What's the matter, Betty Ann?
I think that something's wrong, go.
Produced by Curious Pictures, which had mostly done commercials before then, 10 Offbeat shorts aired during KaBlam's first 2 seasons, enough shorts for a small crew to do without having to ship animation work to Korea. It was a good time for animated comedic dramas about young people. The Offbeats showed up around the same time as Hey Arnold, and while they're 2 very different works in most respects, I think they shared a lot of the same core views, finding your smile while navigating the minefield of childhood. They're certainly complementary pieces. But time moves on, and by 1998, Willems was looking towards the next project. In July of that year, Willems met with Linda Semensky, the then vice president of original animation for Cartoon Network, and he pitched her a show about a runaway sheep moving to the city to escape an evil military general who wants to build a sheep-powered laser. A pretty big departure from the Offbeats, but Semensky was sold. After all, Willems was from Sesame Street. Mo is a writer for Sesame Street. That's the Saturday Night Live for preschoolers. The people coming out of there are the Dr. Seuss's of our day. My rule is, someone shows up from Sesame Street, work with them. They're funny under all sorts of circumstances. So Willems successfully pitched Sheep in the Big City to Cartoon Network, and that meant stepping away from Nickelodeon and the Offbeats, taking it out of KaBlam's rotation. But the Offbeats needed a proper send-off, and in 1999, Nickelodeon aired the half-hour special, An Offbeats Valentines.
Look, guys, a Valentine's dance. How romantic.
Give me a break. You're not really into Valentine's Day, are you, Rapunzel?
Sure. Can't you feel it? Love is in the air.
The Offbeats are struggling with love. Tommy and Beth, one of the populars, fall for each other, but must keep it a secret as to not alienate their friends. This is a problem for Rapunzel, who harbors a secret crush on Tommy. August thinks he can figure out love through science, while September mourns for a love lost.
It was heaven. Then the war broke out. We had to leave Paris before the invasion. She said she'd meet me at the station, but she never showed.
That's sad. But what does it have to do with me?
Don't let anything stand in the way of true love. Love is the greatest thing that can happen between two beings. And don't date a cat. They are very fickle.
And Betty Ann Bongo, she just can't figure out why everyone's getting all gooey-eyed for each other. That is until Grubby Groo's nephew, Brad, shows up.
Falling in love makes you stupid. 1 second you're normal, the next you're...
Hello.
Ha, 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 ha.
What's up, kiddos? This is my nephew, Brad. The Bradster's gonna help me out with the Valentine's festivities tomorrow night.
Hi.
Ha, 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 ha.
Check you cats later. Brad and I gotta prepare for the party of the year.
Bye.
Ha, ha, ha.
Gee, Brad's kind of cute.
He's mine! Do you hear me? Mine!
If the Peanuts' influence on the Offbeats wasn't already apparent, this special feels a lot like the animated Charlie Brown specials of the 60s and 70s, right down to Willem's take on the goofy dance sequence.
Kick it.
Honestly, there really isn't a whole lot to say about the special itself. It's about as laid back and chill as the shorts, and you can't make the case off of it that the Offbeats should have been a full-blown television show. But it does have emotional stakes, and it works as a fun send-off to a reliable and interesting little series. Most of the interest towards this special has been the fact that until 2014, 15 years after its airing, an Offbeat Valentine's was considered lost media. Thankfully, now you can find it in its entirety on YouTube. Mostly, I wanted to use this opportunity to talk about Mo Willem, who's a creator I've really come to love. So Willems moved to Cartoon Network and produced 2 seasons of Sheep in the Big City, then became the head writer for the first 4 seasons of Codename Kids Next Door, only to retire from animation to work in children's books, with popular series like Pigeon and Elephant and Piggy. When I think of the independent artist, I think of people like Mo Willem, those who not only have a drive for creation, but a drive for evolution, of taking the past and making something new of it, and always being willing to try out new things, new ideas, new mediums, not just animation, but books and stand-up. These days, the markets have changed. The golden age of animated anthology shows are no more. The shorts you might find there are now floating in the vast ocean of digital media. But while so much has changed, the artists themselves, a new generation of Mo Willems, that spirit remains the same. So I guess what I'm saying is, Mo Willems, will you be my Valentine?
Nick, 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 Nickelodeon. Nick, 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 Nickelodeon.
Thank you all for watching. If you'd like to support the Pop Arena in general and Knacks in specific, consider contributing to my Patreon. At just $1 per video, you can promote your stuff, be it a YouTube channel, a blog, a webcomic, a book, whatever you're doing. We have rotating sponsors at the end of each Knacks video, and a link to all sponsors in the description below. You can also support the Pop Arena by subscribing, hitting that bell icon, liking the video, following me on Twitter, and sharing with your Valentines.
I'll play it and tell you what it is.
Maybe Valentine's isn't just about falling in love. Maybe it's also a time to spend with the friends that you love, even if you're not in love with them.
Actually, Valentine's Day is about commemorating the patron saint of beekeepers who was martyred in 273 AD.
Silly puppy.